right, there you go. So we'll see how many people show up, and we're going to start talking a little bit about that last video that I just did, where just there was kind of got not heated, but there was a lot of talk, a lot of discussion, literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thumbs ups on it, and a ton of comments, and really good comments, as you guys always do. But hang in there one second. Let me go and get this thing broken off so I can read your comments while we're talking. Let me see. All right, that worked. Let's now close this down a little bit. Okay. We are good. All right. All the technical stuff. So, guys, right now I have Trevor Current with me. What's going on, Trevor?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. So, if you guys didn't know, for many years, probably about what 6, 7 years or something, Trevor and myself did a vlog, and before that, we even did just a standard, I guess, podcast, and that's like
Yeah.
before it was like hip to podcast. So we did a show called the Digital Photography Cafe for many, many years, and we did everything about tech that had to do with cameras, video, whatever the case might be. And we traveled to the different shows, and we did the live feed broadcasting and doing coverage from WPPI, from Photo Plus Expo, basically all over the country. So that's what we did together. So I'm kind of, we got Trevor now on the line through Skype. So it's kind of cool. We can talk and just kind of have this discussion back and forth about the video that we just came up with last, I think it was yesterday, day before, that was, Nikon and Sony turn up the heat, will Canon kind of be left out in the cold was the title. And, being a Canon guy, I really didn't get a lot of flack for it, which is good. There's a lot of times if I'm saying anything negative, we get flack that I'm a fanboy one way or another way, and most of you guys that have watched me over the years know that I am kind of unbiased, very unbiased when it comes to anything photo. So anyways, Trevor, what are you doing now? Let me just start out with that, so get to know who you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, well, I mean that what I'm doing now is kind of what, kind of prompted the slowdown of the Digital Photography Cafe show and the ramp up of what you're doing. Basically, I'm a graphic designer by profession. I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and probably back in 2009, I made more of a transition into website development.
Mm-hmm.
Focusing on WordPress and such. And I moved from the day job, working for somebody as an employee for 20 years, into working for myself.
Right.
So as time went on and business grew, I just got really, really busy. And it became harder and harder for me to commit to doing a show on a regular schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, as you guys all know, and even from subscribing to Joe's channel, you guys know consistency is very important. When you start slacking, you get, a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, a month goes by, and then kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah,
And,
it was very difficult, especially towards the end. You had some health issues that kind of made things, a little bit harder, and there was a lot of things
yeah,
that went on that we just kind of had to just wean off the Digital Photography Cafe show. We might bring it back one day, but we never really truly ended it. But it's been almost a year or maybe even longer now since we've done it. So who knows? Maybe it'll come back,
yeah.
maybe it won't. But anyways, let's get into this whole Nikon, Sony, Canon. What kind of started this whole thing, and my thought on this was that Nikon said during a CES, I believe, press conference or whatnot, that they were going to release a firmware update. Now, we knew a firmware update was going to come out, but we didn't know what was going to be included. They talked about CF Express because we know that XQD, what I've said for many, many years, is it's just the format's kind of dead, right? We just, CF Express is like the next thing. So when they came out with the Z series, I'm like, I hope they do not put XQD in it and they just go go straight into CF Express, but they didn't. And I kind of gave them flack for it. But they did say right away, within a week or so, that we're going to be coming out with a firmware update that should be able to bring in CF Express compatibility. Now, that is one of the things that came to pass with this firmware update, right, guys? They said that we're going to have CF Express, but they also said that we're going to bring in IAF. I mean, we know that's like a Sony thing. Now, did they bring that in from Sony, or is it their own deal? I don't know, but they will have IAF. So you have the tracking of the eyes, which is so important. A lot of people are just so fond of it, and they almost rely on it these days, especially portrait shooters or someone that's shooting something that has eyes, that's fast moving, that needs to track in there. And so you have like really clear, sharp eyes, eyelashes, and whatnot, right? So the other thing was that they were going to be able to record raw video. Now, of course, that is with the Atomos, the Ninja 5 or whatnot, but being able to record straight raw video is a really big thing for a lot of people. Now, what is that video going to be? Is it 422? Is it going to be 444? What is it? I really don't know, but just the point that it is raw, that will help a lot of people out. And especially we know that the Z6 is pretty good at video. I would say even better than Canon's EOS R. So that being said, that is really something that's major. And some of the folks that I've seen in the comments found that to be a really big thing to kind of say, well, maybe the Z6 is where we want to go with it. So I want to start out by saying, before I was going to read some of the comments that people put in the actual video from last time. I'm also going to look at some of the comments that come through here from the guys that are watching. If you're not watching live and this is kind of a replay, welcome. So this is not live as Memorex for you, that's fine. Welcome anyways. So what I want to do say before I get into some of the other comments is a guy by the name of Mel Enriquez, I believe. He always puts these just well thought out comments, and I just have to give him that shout out by saying thank you. So many of you guys that are on the channel, I've said this in the past, there's so few trolls out there that there's so many just quality people that are watching the channel. I feel blessed. But the comments that come in, they're not like, yeah, that's great, fantastic, thumbs up or whatever. They literally go into, just very articulate dissertations, right, Trevor? I know you have read some of them that just are so
absolutely
well put together.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you, a lot of the YouTube channels I subscribe to that are really popular and get, thousands of views or whatever, there's so many trolls. I mean, so many people in there just commenting first and, some, just stupid things. But your subscriber base, they're really dedicated. They really take the time, they put the effort in to commenting because you're really striking up a conversation. You're really, helping people think and explore the ideas of what's happening in the photo industry. And, they articulate it really, really well.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. That's just, I'm really amazed by it. But like I said, I feel blessed by it also. Now, let me start out by saying that one of the guys wrote a comment in here, which I should have touched on when I put that video together, but I didn't. His name was Robert Derry, I believe. He said Canon does the same as Nikon. A major firmware update is on its way for the EOS R series. And that is, the EOS R will have a firmware update. And I didn't talk about it, and I probably should have, but the reason being is when they said that they were going to do this update, they basically said that we're not going to tell you what the update is. All right. It's like G14 classified. It's like super secret or something. So instead of saying what it is, they just said that an update's coming in the first quarter, but we don't know what it is. What will it fix? What will it do? Nikon was more forthcoming, obviously, and they said exactly what they're doing. They're doing the CF Express, they're going to be doing the IAF, and then the raw video, and probably some other bug fixes they'll be throwing in there just the same. Now, I've said this also, and that was one of the reasons why I did this video, is I said that I love Fujifilm. Now, I don't shoot Fujifilm. I have, but I don't shoot regularly Fujifilm. But what they do is they constantly do updates to that firmware. But instead of just updating bugs, just doing bug fixes, they're giving more. You know, they're either adding a better, ISO, or they're doing better low light, or they're adding a new feature that was never there before, like Nikon is doing here with IAF and whatnot. So I really have to give kudos to Nikon for doing it. Now, I'm hoping that Canon will do the same. Like Robert said, they are going to be putting out this firmware update. What is it going to be? I really don't know. I don't know, but I guess we'll see what ends up happening with it. I have to say, Garrett Hayes over here, hello from Dublin, Ireland. How are you doing? It's probably late, or maybe is it early over there? Oh no, it's early in the morning over here. We're down in South Florida, U.S. So I see Long Island. We have a couple of people in the comment area. I'll have you just keep looking through it. What do we have here? Let me just look through here. Black Warrior Lures, yeah, Rod and 5, yeah, Z6. So it's 12-bit is what Black Warrior Lures is saying with the Ninja 5 with the Z6 12-bit Cinema DNG. So that's 12-bit. I mean, that's awesome. Can't complain about that. And like I said, is it going to be 422 or 442, 444? Hopefully I would like to see 444, but it just depends on what the processing power of the camera is and if it'll be able to do it, right?
Right, yeah.
So let me get into David Pruitt. He said something here. He said, I'm a long time, 20-year Canon shooter who largely transitions to Sony. He made the transition to Sony in 2018. Now, Trevor, I mean, when we went to the very first show that we saw, the A7, okay, the A7 Mark I, right? The very first A7. You remember, we were at New York City. I flew in. You're in New Jersey. You met me over there, and we did the show. And I remember going to that booth, and I'm sure you remember. And the A7, the Sony A7, when I saw that, I'm like, it's full frame mirrorless. This is a revolution. This is amazing. But if you remember, it was garbage. It was horrible. They didn't even have any lenses. That's all they were doing was promoting third-party glass. I remember it was Zeiss, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. But the thing that they were trying to push is that you could use Canon lenses or Nikon lenses with the adapter.
Right.
And they had a Canon lens there, and I know we adapted it, we put it on, and you took a shot, and it was like not very good at all, but how far they've come.
Right. I mean, it was hunting in and out, guys. Hunting in and out. It couldn't grab focus for nothing.
Not at all. No.
It was horrible. It was literally horrible. And like you said, where they've come from. It's just amazing. It's amazing. Especially the A7 III that they came out with, which I call it the loss leader, the camera of the year, one of them, I guess, for 2018. I mean, that has brought so many people over to the Sony brand. And we know, Trevor, once you get people to buy your, into your platform and start spending money on lenses, when they start spending $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 on a specific brand lens, they're in for life. They're married to that brand for the most part. This is hard to get out at that point. You're like, I have the glass already. That's probably why I've been shooting Canon for so long. I have thousands and probably tens of thousands of dollars worth of Canon glass. I guess we can adapt it to Sony, but it's always better to have native glass. So, but anyways, let me move into another comment. Roland Kaiser, he said that basically he was talking about how it turns out that Nikon was he was saying it's the first full frame manufacturer with a camera that does everything now. And he's kind of talking about the new firmware update. And he was talking about it having, the best IBIS, and you had from IBIS to time-lapse movie mode to weather sealing to now IAF, fast memory cards, the best quality fine, all of the stuff that the Z6 does have. The only thing I'd have to say, Roland, is that there's still a lot of talk about AF and how the autofocus is just not there yet. And I'm hoping that when they introduce IAF, that it then fixes some of the other autofocusing issues that they're having. Because if it does, I mean, they really have a winner on their hands. They really do. So obviously right now, Canon still has quote unquote better glass. Some people will say no, but I do believe that to be the case. But the system itself, the sensor, the software, I don't know. I think that Nikon might have them beat. So we'll see, how it goes. Anything you see in the comments, Trevor, there?
Yeah, just some people saying hello and their time zone. So it's in the evening over overseas where they are, and yeah, staying up late watching watching us.
watching
Uh,
watching our nonsense here. So I
yeah.
see I see James Butters, all good. What's going on, James? We have a lot of people in here starting to show up, so that's good. Another person from the comments said manufacturers must do firmware upgrades in order to appeal to intelligent customer base as of today. That is JP. Um, Kinda, I guess. Firmware updates are a big thing. And we know that the major two, Canon and Nikon, for the most part, have always done firmware updates based on bugs. If there's a problem, we fix it with a firmware update. They never give back more. And I think that's where Fujifilm just changed everything.
Yeah.
You were able to take an X, let's say a T2, and slowly over, let's say 2, 3, 4 years, it got better and better and better, Trev. And we knew a couple of people at Fuji, right? And how they were working, right?
Yeah, yeah. When they were introducing those cameras initially, and we were taking a look at them, we're like, man, they've got something here. And they're not they weren't Nikon, they weren't Canon, even Sony for that matter at the time. And they really looked promising with what they were offering. But in the comments here, uh, Chris from Los Angeles was saying, the firmware is a great way to upgrade the camera. Absolutely. I mean, the the cameras, for all intents and purposes, are computers, and they're running, like a little motherboard in there, and all of the different parts are peripherals, and they can, as long as they can continue to interact with the peripherals, the autofocus system or whatever, there's no reason why they can't make updates,
Right,
and
right, right.
updates to add improvements, not just fix bugs. So I definitely feel that Nikon, I mean, the writing's on the wall here, right?
Right.
Sony's crushing it in the mirrorless full frame market right now. Nikon released their two offerings to a warm reception, not a hot reception.
Right, right.
The Nikon fans are, looking at it as, hey, this might be a good option. Other people are saying, it may not be for me. But in order to compete in this space, they have to do something that's different.
Right.
They have to provide a service and or product that is going to set them apart. And simply by being able to make improvements to the camera just through firmware updates, utilizing the hardware that's already there, is awesome. And that is a huge selling point for someone to want to, get into the Nikon camp.
Yep.
Especially if they're already a Nikon shooter, it's a good transition for them.
No, absolutely. If you have F-mount glass, most people are going to go with a new mirrorless, Nikon. That's just the way it is. Same thing with the Canon side. That's where, I always said that Canon need to comes out with a full frame mirrorless to kind of compete, and Nikon had to do the same thing so that people were not migrating to Sony. I think both Nikon and Canon put a Band-Aid on, or a tourniquet, stop the bleeding a little bit. Are their cameras, their first introduction, Gen 1s, as good as some of the Sony? I would probably say no. Are they getting there? Yes. But by Gen 2, they'll probably be there. I got to say, Long Rinder here said that the subs reflect the class of the content provider. I appreciate that. You flatter me. Thank you so much. And also, Manish here, he asked about the firmware update and the focusing system in IAF and how will it improve the focusing system in general. And that's what we were just saying. I really don't know. I'm hoping that is the case. But I want to see some of the real world guys out there, you know, the YouTubers that are doing real world tests on the Z6, even the Z7. Does this firmware update that is now going to provide IAF, will that increase or let's say better the AF system as a whole, or will it be, you know, solely for IF? I really don't know the answer to that, but that is a really great question. We're going to see what ends up happening with that. Let me also say that Jean-Michael Argentine, I think his name was, in the comments from before, he said that, hey, I purchased my first Sony A7 III, and I'm super happy about it. So this is what I've been seeing a lot. And I know you, Trevor, when we would go to the shows, you know, it was always just Canon, Nikon, Canon, Nikon, Canon, Nikon. All of a sudden we started seeing Sony this, Sony that. Oh, you know, we got the new Sony, you know, the A7 S2. We got this. It was amazing for video, whatever. When this A7 III came out, like I said before, a lot of people migrated to it, and a lot of new people went to that camera. Why? Because for under $2,000, full frame, mirrorless, there was nothing on the market like it. And the value for your money, what you're getting, there was just nothing. There really is nothing. And still now, for $1,900, that A7 III is just, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I really think that when Sony comes out with their new monster, I think things are really going to turn up a notch once again. So you got anything over there in the comments?
So Steve Land, he said he works in the automotive industry for one of the big three, and the most common fixes nowadays is software repairs. It's
Wow.
easier because the hardware is ahead of the software, which helps for the future. So absolutely, I mean, everything in the cars today is computer controlled. I mean, a lot of times the fixes can be made through software updates.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I remember building race cars. I don't know if some of you guys will know that I've talked about this in the past, but I used to build from, you know, the big block stuff, but then I built a lot of the Japanese cars and built them from ground up. I had a 4-cylinder all-wheel drive Eagle Talon that was putting 600 to the all four wheels, you know, doing under 10-second quarter miles. So, but that 4-cylinder running 26 pounds of boost, it was mission critical that I dialed that thing in for the fuel injection system, how much air to fuel ratio, what was being put on
Sure.
at different levels of boost. And I used to put hours and hours and hours. So it was all about dialing in that car or that system to produce the most horsepower without constantly blowing out my head gaskets because it's igniting,
Right.
you know, it's detonating. But anyways, so, you know, absolutely in the car industry, just like all industries, it's really about software. The hardware is there. I mean, it's just taking full advantage of it. And that, I think, is one of the things that Canon has a slight disadvantage to, for example, Sony. I really do think Sony's ahead of the game. Obviously, when it comes to sensors, they're just making them and selling a lot of them. But also to the software. Their software behind the scenes is really doing a lot. And I don't know if the processing power of the Canon units are up to par as of yet. But we'll see what ends up happening. So what else you got over
Yeah.
there in the comments?
I mean, well, just quick aside on
Yeah.
the Canon stuff. I mean, my frustration with Canon, and again, I mean, I'm a Canon shooter. I've got the Canon sitting over here. I've got the glass, and I don't plan on changing systems anytime soon. But over all of the years of us doing Digital Photography Cafe and going to the shows and watching the photography news and everything, the two biggest things that I can say over the last decade with Canon has been the 5D Mark II and dual pixel autofocus.
Dual
And
pixel.
other than that, nothing really stands out in my mind as earth-shattering.
Yeah.
They really have not done anything to make me want to run out and buy more Canon
Yeah,
stuff.
I think that I agree with you 110%. DPAF, dual pixel AF has been their bread and butter. They've God, if I say it one more time, I'm like, it makes me sick even saying it. But yeah, dual pixel AF, dual pixel AF. They got it. It works. They got it in spades. It works great. That's why I use the an 80D. Why? Because it just tracks me better than the other cameras do. And I agree 100% also with the 5D Mark II. That camera was revolutionary when it came to video on a DSLR. Okay, that was like the beginning. We saw some TV productions, some TV shows being shot with the 5D Mark II when it came
Absolutely.
out. And Vince LaFerre, for example, he really did something great, some really great videos with it. Just
Yeah,
the
he brought
cinema.
that camera to the
He
forefront.
did,
Yeah.
he did. And it really, and I do think that the 5D Mark III and the 5D Mark IV are just simply iterations thereof. I mean, they're better, yes, better low light and all kinds of other stuff. But are they that milestone, that thing that says this is amazing? I just don't think so. I don't think there's anything out
Yeah.
there as of
No.
yet. So I'm really looking forward to Canon coming out with that, EOS RP, Pro version or whatever they want to call it, something that will do something great.
Right.
The whole idea of having 4K constantly being neutered by Canon is so frustrating as a Canon shooter, and I'm sure you can agree with this. They do
Yeah.
this all the time, and we know that they do it because they don't want to neuter, or they do want to neuter these cameras because they don't want to just
They
hurt
don't want to
their
impede on their
C.
other product lines.
Right, their
Yeah.
C series, their C300, their C series is where they make their money when it comes to professional video. I use the C series because when I'm shooting pro, just high end video, I need something that does the job well. The C series just captures video properly. It does it well. I can use all of my lenses on it. It has a built-in fan, so the thing will never overheat. I mean, a really nice size fan, and you could record forever. As long as you have video, cards, a card with space on it. So it just does a really good job. So what they're doing is, like I said, kind of neutering their cameras as they come out to, not crush, their C series. And I mean, that's good. And it's been working for them for many years now. But I think the writing's on the wall. They need to turn it up or they're really going to start losing people. I think Nikon has lost people, but I don't think they have lost as many people to Sony as Canon has because they've been so stagnant. Nikon had that really, let's say, horrible problem with the D7 750 with all those recall after recall after recall. It was just horrible. And then they did the $94 million loss they took when they did the restructuring. And I said, you know what, if they don't come out with the D 850 that just hits on all cylinders and doesn't have any type of recalls, they're going to have some serious problems. Well, they did. The D 850, I think, is the best DSLR in the market as of right now. So Nikon's back. They are back, in my personal opinion. I think Canon is, I don't think they're going away by any means.
No,
They're still
no.
number one, but they are just losing market share daily. That's my opinion.
Yeah, well, we all know that the barrier to entry into photography has, and professional photography as far as the equipment goes, has greatly dropped in price. You can get into any camera manufacturer's product, get a camera that does a really good job,
Right.
and go out and, start shooting. And whether you're shooting for an agency or you do events and weddings and stuff, I mean, you're going to find gear from any manufacturer that will get the job done. Now, will it give you everything that you want? If you're just starting out, probably. If you've been in the industry for a while, you may have discovered certain needs where you need a certain product type or a certain feature because of what you do. And
Right.
at that point, then you start looking at the different manufacturers.
Right.
Joe, Stephen he had made a comment about, it would be nice if the camera companies would do more sophisticated software integrations and camera output, kind of like the way the smartphones have done it. Now, I
Right.
remember one of the shows we were at, Samsung had their NX platform there,
Hmm.
and that was an Android-based
That thing was
camera,
awesome.
wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was awesome. And it had a ton of functionality. And I don't know if they opened it up, but it might even have been like open source or something, or you were able to download apps for the camera or whatever. But yeah,
Yep.
it did a lot of cool things. And yeah, I mean, like you were saying, there's always a camera specific to every job. I mean, like I've always said, I'm not a fanboy. I shoot Hasselblad if I need to shoot Hasselblad for magazine stuff. I mean, there is colleagues of mine that still use a Panasonic GH5S for recording videos for 15, 30-second, 1 minute ad spots for TV that really have been wanting something from Panasonic for a long time. Now Panasonic is going to be introducing their S1, S1R. They're extremely excited about video on this new full frame system. So, I mean, there is a camera for every single job, whatever you need, but there's no camera that does everything and does it well. I know over here in the comment area here, who was it? David C. He said, "Is 8K really going to be necessary?" And I've said this before. The answer to that is probably not no. Not is the answer is no, not right now. But and people have asked me, well, what would you do with 8K? So for me, for example, if I'm going to provide 1080p and I can record 4K, that gives me a lot more latitude in post production to be able to do edits, to do pans and zooms without any degradation in the video. Okay, guys, that is really it. So if we can now capture in 8K and deliver 4K, once again, you have a lot more real estate to play with. Now, if you were able to capture an 8K and then downgrade it to 1080p, I mean, you have a massive amount to be able to do some serious pans. You can shoot a little bit wider. You can do things a little bit different. You could be a little bit more relaxed when it comes to your shots and doing making your shot lists and how tight people need to be. You're able to get in tighter without any degradation or any loss in pixel, any loss in resolution. So that's for the most part where I see shooting higher and wanting more, even though we're not going to be providing it yet at that resolution. Being able to capture it at that resolution, I think, is fantastic, especially as an editor doing post production.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It gives you more to work with after the fact. I mean, it's, the same with shooting stills, having a higher megapixel that is a quality pixel, not just more pixels for the sake of more pixels, will give you a bigger, better image that you could do more with. You could blow it up. It could be used on a billboard. It could be whatever. It gives you more flexibility. So, having that on the back end, I can see beneficial. I mean, 8K, televisions and projectors and things like that. I mean, they'll come eventually, but is it here now? No. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff at CES that that will certainly be 8K and look
Oh yeah.
absolutely amazing,
Oh yeah.
but it's going to be cost prohibitive for most people.
Yeah, I see in the comments here, Florio writes, well, she puts a couple of things in there, but is basically saying that Canon needs to wake up and they want to make a purchase of the best full frame mirrorless, and they're losing their patience with Canon, and I understand exactly where you're coming from. There's a lot of people in the same boat. They have money in their hand, right? Especially now we're going to be coming, close to tax season. They're going to have a wad full of money, and they're deciding where to throw it. So,
Yep.
like I said, Panasonic with the new S series, the S1, S1R. We have the new firmware updates, with the Z6, Z7. We have the EOS R. There's going to be a new update on their firmware also. Where is that going to bring them? I don't know. And Sony is right around the corner with probably something big. Maybe a new A9 II, or maybe their A7 is right around the corner. Their new A7 III, I believe. So that should be a video beast.
Yeah.
I think what we all
Yep.
need to really look at is where these companies are going to go for the Olympics. 2020 is going to be a milestone. I think that most of these camera manufacturers see the Olympics as a place to really shine. Most of the time, and I'm sure you guys know, whenever you watch the Olympics and you see a sea of photographers, you see a sea of tan or white lenses. That's all Canon glass, massive glass, $20,000, $30,000 massive pieces, torpedoes, as I call them.
Yep.
Because they have them, and the majority of the people are shooting with the 1Ds. I got an old 1D back there. They shoot amazingly quick. They do a really great job. But coming for 2020, I have a feeling we're going to start seeing some of the mirrorless stuff out there. I think there's going to be some big shooters that all of a sudden are going to come, on, doing a press release or whatever, saying that, or Canon, let's say, does a press release, or Nikon or whoever, maybe even Panasonic. Oh, this professional Olympic coverage photographer is now using our X, Y, and Z camera. I think that's going to be really big for them. And I think it's going to be big for a lot of companies, not, because there's so many eyes to the Olympics. There's so many people that look at it and they look at the pros and say, I might want to be a professional eventually. What is all the other pros using? What are they using? So, that being said, Sony's really doing a good job of bringing in that new blood. I want to know what they're going to do with the Olympics. Maybe it is the A9, Mark II, let's call it, or whatever, that will do it. I really don't know. And lenses are always a big thing too. How long is your lens? How big is your glass? How large is your torpedo? So when you're dealing with stuff that's that far away and you need to be able to capture it, you need those lenses one way or another. So you have to follow the system that has the glass, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I guarantee you, Sony is out there now. They are working on connecting with all these, professional sports shooters who are going to be at the Olympics. They're going to be looking at getting cameras and lenses in hands and trying to convert them prior to the Olympics. There's no doubt they've been working on that. I know Black Warrior had asked the comment about, do you think Panasonic will end up neutering their cameras because they'll compete with, some of their video products? And I would say across the board, any company, whether it's a camera manufacturer, a computer company, whatever it is, any product that they release is done very thought out, let's say. They look at their product line, they look at the holes in the product line, and they try and develop a product to fill it.
Right.
And if they have a product that is selling well for a particular industry, they're not going to jeopardize that.
No.
They're not going to come out with a new product that could, hurt that other part of the business, especially in the higher end video camera stuff. Those cameras are really expensive. And all of the accompanying equipment that goes along with it. So Panasonic is not going to release a still/video camera that will compete at that level.
No,
because it will cannibalize that end of the market.
That's exactly
for
right.
the lower end shooters of that market who are buying their own equipment and are thinking like, all right, well, this does a pretty good job. Maybe I'll use this less expensive camera rather than the higher camera.
Absolutely.
They're not going to do that. I mean, it's the same scenario with Canon in the C series.
Yeah, they just can't cannibalize their where their money is coming from. They just can't. No. But they need to also know that even though that is their professional market, they need to know that a lot of the money comes from the lower end cameras. For example, Canon has the #1 mirrorless camera out there with their, KISS, their M50 or whatever, which most people don't know. So they need to, it's such a juggling act, and I know they have a hard time with it, but they have to do it, and Canon has just not been doing it lately. Chris in the comment area, Imamura, I don't know. Sorry if I just botched it. He said, Joe, always on point. I really appreciate that. As a longtime Canon guy, but I'm tired of the mandating and all the time, and I jumped over to Sony with the A9 and still use Canon glass with a MC11. Yeah, the Sigma MC11 is by far the best In my personal opinion, we've tried other things that are not as good. I'm not going to downplay any of the other manufacturers out there, but let's just say the Sigma MC11 is probably the best for adapting Canon glass to the Sony. But yeah, so here you see Chris as a longtime Canon guy that said, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And he ended up going with the Sony A9, and I'm sure he loves it, and it's probably doing a great job. Remember, guys, it's not the camera, it's the photographer. And if you're going to spend money on anything, spend money on education. And then secondly, spend money on glass. Usually the camera bodies can do enough for what you need them to do. The only time I would say invest in a new camera body is if the camera body does something that you cannot do without. That's one thing. Or number two, if it will provide you with more money or will save you time, because we know time is money in whatever it does. Besides that, stick with what you got. We're talking right now, of course, about, brand new cameras and tech, and a lot of the people out there are like, I can't afford one of these brand new things. They're constantly coming out with, to market with new stuff all the time. And, that is one of the comments that, who was it? I think, Tom Boyd. He said 8K. This is a comment that he said, let's imagine the storage amount and the amount of processing power that you need. And it's all about making money and snatching it from our wallets. How many people are really going to use 8K? But it's the point that he was making here, Tom was making about, they're constantly coming out with new stuff to try to grab the money from you. You just have to know what you really need and what you really can do without, so to speak. And like I said, education number one, lens number two. So anything else in your comments? Let's go into that.
These companies are in business to make money.
Absolutely.
And if they need, part of their livelihood is introducing products that people will want, need, and buy, and so they have to constantly be coming up with new things, with new, add-ons and new features and iterations and stuff like that. Where I think this whole conversation really plays a big part is for the first-time buyer. Or somebody who may have had a entry-level DSLR and they're looking now to do more. Somebody who's well established with a brand and has glass and has all this other stuff. They have, they've been doing it for a decade or more. They've figured out pretty much what they need.
Right.
Now, if they need to add a body to their arsenal, odds are pretty good they're going to want to stay within the brand because of lens compatibility. And with the mirrorless conversation, there's differences there, obviously, because of the mounts and everything. But there is brand loyalty. And if somebody's a Nikon shooter, it's going to be hard to get them to switch over to Canon. Now, if they're looking to make a format move, from DSLR to mirrorless, that's a different story. And this is where you really have to, weigh out the options and all. But I don't know, bro. In the professional photography space, as with the professional website design space that I'm a major part of right now, there are so many people out there doing the work, and the competition is fierce. And it's everybody's trying to think of, what's going to give them that leg up. If I get this camera, will it make me a better shooter? If I get this camera, will it provide me with something that I wouldn't be able to do otherwise?
Right.
And at the end of the day, it really is never about the equipment.
No.
It's never about the website. It's what you do with your website. It's, as a shooter, as a photographer, it's about your education. It's about your creative eye. It's about what you can do with a camera. Joe, you and I have both made amazing photos off of our iPhones.
Right. Absolutely.
Again, not that we're going to go out and sell iPhone photography, but it always comes down to the creative side.
Yeah, knowing the light, knowing how to use your equipment. Once again, it's the education.
That's right. And no matter how competitive an industry gets, if you invest in education, whether it be paid or just time, you spend time learning, learning your craft, both from the technical and the creative side, that creativity is something that can never be taken away from you.
Right. No,
And that
absolutely.
creativity is what sets you apart from everybody else.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I have in the commentary from the last video, Joseph Burgell, I think his name is. He said, "What's up with the stadium sounding stereo audio mic? It sounds like the voice of God." So, guys, just if you haven't watched any of my past videos, so this is the mic. You see this right here? This is an RE20. I'm not using this right now, but this is for my videos. This is normally what I'm using. Sometimes you don't see it in frame, but this is the mic. That's why it sounds like that. Right now I'm using a Samsung mic, a little USB type of thing, but this is the mic that I normally use. So it is a radio mic. It's an RE20. If you're looking for good audio when it comes to, doing your broadcasts, or if you're doing something with YouTube, or if you're recording podcasts like Trevor and myself used to do, a good mic, you're looking at $500 for an RE20 and a type of radio mic. It's just, they produce just amazing sound. They make your voice sound better than it really is, I guess. It's something like that. Blaze King also in the comment area he said, nice haircut. It looks like Ninja from Die Antwoord. I'm like, who the heck is this guy? Come to find out, I got to put this on the screen. Look at this. This is the guy. Now, if you guys can see this, that's all I need, I guess, is like maybe a 1 and a 6 tattooed under my eyes, and maybe Pretty Wise, I don't know, tattooed here. But yeah, they said that
Nice.
the haircut looked like this guy. And he's, I guess he's from South Africa. He's like a South African rap king, rap star or whatnot. So yeah, thanks. This was the haircut that we got for the last time. But anyways, like I said at the beginning, I'm kind of full circle about the firmware updates. A lot of folks have looked at this firmware update as being maybe the answer to them moving into the Z6. And I saw in the commentary there was a lot of people that said this. So I think that by Nikon coming, let's say, immediately with what is going to be in it, I think it's helped them out a lot, because people like myself and others are talking about it in comparison where Canon says, yes, we're going to do a firmware update sometime in first quarter, but it's like G14 super, classified. I mean, that doesn't help them. It doesn't help
No.
them. It doesn't help the bleeding. It doesn't help it at all. And like we said, new blood, new blood, new blood. The guy like
Yep.
myself that has a ton of Canon glass all over, I really don't care, a week, a month, or 3 months until they do what they need to do. But the new blood that has that wad of money that says, where am I going to put this money? I'm ready to make the purchase. Those are the ones that they need to cater to. That's the the people that they're marketing to. And if they don't get that right, I mean, it's going to be a problem. They are going to slowly erode that market share. Are they going to drop from number 1 to number 2? I don't think so anytime soon. But I think the numbers is what's going to really affect them when they start seeing these numbers and what their total, what did they make on their cameras for, let's say, 2020 or 2021. I think it's going to go down unless they really start turning up the heat, because they just haven't been doing it. It's just too long now. So
Yeah. Yeah, now all of the manufacturers are seeing it. That's why Panasonic came out with their full frame. I mean, for years they were like, micro four thirds, you can, shoot video and make amazing stills. And, they were so anti, APS-C or full frame, and now they're doing full frame. Nikon, mirrorless, they do that. Canon made a few mirrorless attempts,
I
and everybody's feeling it, and
yeah.
regardless of how big the company is, they're all feeling it, and they all have to do something
You know,
to keep the ball rolling.
Trevor, that reminds me, we're not going to name the name of this upper end executive kind of person that's in Panasonic, okay? If they're watching, they know exactly who they are. Um, how many times did I say that Micro Four Thirds is just not where you guys want to be. You have just squeezed the
Yep.
hell out of Micro Four Thirds, and you've done an amazing job. I mean, look at the
Oh yeah.
GH5s. They've really done an amazing job. But there's nothing left to it. I mean, there's only so much processing you can do on something this big and compared to something this big. All right.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we see full frame. And they finally said, you know, that S series, the S1, S1R is going to be that full frame mirrorless camera. Thank God. I mean, this is so long in coming. And that's why I said a lot of these Panasonic guys that has been shooting this Micro Four Thirds, they are just ecstatic. They are absolutely ecstatic. I've talked to them all the time. And like I said, there are a lot of video people. And they're just, they cannot wait. They cannot wait. So I'm really excited to see what Panasonic brings to market with that S1, S1R. It could be really great, or it could be a flop. And the reason I say that is they have a lot of experience in the Micro Four Thirds and squeezing the hell out of it. But, you know, once they have that full frame, a lot of things change, Trevor. One of the things that change is the amount of data that you have to capture, okay, per second, per millisecond. So heat is going to be a major factor when it comes to their camera, and how they take care of that, how they dissipate that heat is going to be a big issue. Sony with their A7 overheating all the time.
All the time.
All the
That was
time.
a huge problem. Yeah.
They figured it out. They figured it out. What they did
Yeah.
internally with heat sinks or whatever they did to dissipate that heat, they figured it out. We don't hear that anymore, even from long runs. So I think Panasonic is going to have a learning curve. They're going to have something that they're going to have to, that is going to probably be the major thing. How are they going to be able to handle that amount of data that quickly, pushing it and pulling it and squeezing it and twisting it and not heat up? I think that's going to be a big thing. So we'll see how Panasonic does.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, like we always say, I mean, everybody says, I read the comments all the time in your on your videos and stuff. Competition's good, right? And we want to see all the manufacturers produce stellar products, you know, because it's only better for all of us. It gives us choice, but it also applies pressure to each manufacturer to keep stepping up their game and really doing that R&D and coming up with the next best thing. You know, and
absolutely
without it, I mean, it becomes a stagnant industry.
No, absolutely. It's just, you know, constantly keeping up with everything. Steve in here says, hey, Joe, always love the discussion. Keep it up. Thanks a lot, Steve. I really appreciate it. Felipe says, you know, firmware, CF Express for DSLR. Also, yes, we are going to see supposedly CF Express in the D5, D500 and the D850 also, which is going to be good. Now, remember, guys, I talked about this in one of my videos. Remember, it depends on the speed too. Will it have that functionality? Will it be able to use a CF Express? Yes, but is it version 1, version 2, version 3? It's probably going to be a version 1. It's going to be slower than what you guys think that it will be. But yes, they will be able to use it. So you're most likely the Z6 and the Z7, they probably have that architecture or that hardware in it for the faster CF Express. I'm guessing, I'm hoping. But, you know, some of the older things out there, some of the older models, I don't know if the D500, the D850, or the D5 have that newer hardware in it to be able to fully take advantage of this speed of the CF Express. So we'll see. But compatibility with the firmware update, I think, is a yes.
Yeah. Steven says, Tom Hogan says the EOS R was specifically to keep existing Canon DSLR users from leaking to other manufacturers, more so than for new entrants into the Canon system. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think that they had to release that mirrorless full frame because their competition was, you know, and they had to release something to appease their current base. But yeah, when you're looking apples to apples here, you know, looking at the EOS R in comparison to other cameras available right now, You really got to do your homework and see if that camera is going to fit your needs. You
No,
know,
absolutely. One of the guys, let me see, UK Media writes in the comments, says Nikon and Canon will introduce a second card slot via firmware update.
yeah,
I like
that would
that.
be epic.
Yeah, that would be epic, right? I would be epic. I mean, some people have said that, why can't they just put a second card slot into, for example, a grip, all right, a battery grip, and then just have a second card slot? Yes, that is a possibility only if data is coming out of the bottom of the camera and it's not a receptor for just juice, right, guys? Just
Right,
juice.
right.
So it really depends on how it's set up, if they can do that. But if that's a possibility, I mean, that that's in the works, if not already in the works, and we should see it, on Amazon any day if it's a
Right.
possibility. So I don't know, but that would be cool because a lot of these cameras that don't have that second card slot, where some of the people, have that list and say, well, if it doesn't have a second card slot, that camera is off the list completely. Or if it doesn't have a flippy screen, that camera is off the list completely. So if the second card slot is something that you need and they were able to get it to you, through a battery grip or maybe a firmware update,
Yeah,
that would
you
be
got
pretty
it.
cool, right? It would be pretty cool, and it'll get people into that specific camera line, even though they maybe didn't want it from before because of that. So let me see here. Let me go down these comments a little bit. Got to say what's up to Felipe and Sizzleman and Stefan. What's going on, guys? Of course. Black Warrior Lures, we said. David C. What's going on? Let me see. Yes, the GH5 is the pinnacle of micro four thirds. That's from Black Warrior Lure. Yes, it absolutely is. And they look forward also to the S1. Yeah, I do think that the GH the 5S was definitely the pinnacle. I think that's definitely the top of the top. I don't know if they're going to be putting as much R&D, as much research into the micro four thirds. I really do think they're going to slowly start transitioning into full frame because they're going to see. It's okay. Let me put a caveat out there. If their S1, S1R does really well and starts selling, just crazily, let's say, I think that they're going to really start transitioning out of micro four thirds. Now, I've done videos that micro four thirds are dead. Well, I mean, we know it's not dead, and we know that there's people out there that still need it. And for travel guys that want something that's longer, like long lenses that are small, long but small, micro four thirds just does the trick. So for travel, it's really good. The problem with micro four thirds that I've always had is the price of it is so close to APS-C that you can go and pick up, for example, a Fujifilm X-T3 for the price that you're going to get a micro four thirds camera from Panasonic. So a lot of people are looking at that and say, well, I want the bigger sensor and I want this extra feature or whatever. So the full frame S1, S1R, I think is going to be a big thing. I really do believe it. So we'll see what ends up going on here. So Gabriel, I see. What's up? What's up to you? How are you doing? Bolden Visuals, how are you doing? Let's see, what does he put in here? The EOS R seems to have been rushed to market. I know they announced 8K coming, but does that explain the high crop of the 4K? Bolden, I would have to say no. Once again, coming full circle, the 4K high crop, the just notorious, just the craziness that Canon does when it comes to their cameras and the neutering that they do, the painfulness that we Canon people have to endure, it's not going to stop, I don't think, anytime soon. They're going to just continue to crop and do this stuff. And I don't think that some people have said that they don't have the processing power to be able to do it. I don't believe that's the case. I really think that they neuter them just so they don't cannibalize their C series. Their C series
Yeah,
just is a
exactly.
moneymaker. And a lot of larger filmmakers buy C series on a regular basis. It just does the job, and it does the job well. If we're not picking up a red camera, you're picking up, something on the C series. That's just, for me, that just works. It does the job, and it does it well. 4K or 1080p or whatever you're doing. Once again, massive fans in those cameras. So you just record forever, and you're using all of your EF lenses, so all of your L glass on it, so it really works out pretty good. Missing Link says, evening sir, how are you doing? Missing Link, evening to you. It is morning over here, so I'm guessing you're overseas. Let's see, Alexandro, let's see, I believe 2020. Let me see. I must graphic. Yeah, I do think. I don't know. So I think that 2020 is going to be a big year because there's a lot of stuff going on. We have that release of the EOS R, we have the release of the Z6, the Z7, which all full frame mirrorless, and now we have Panasonic with the the S1, the S1R. Who knows who else is going to come to market with something that is under radar that might put something out there. But the 2020 Olympics, like I said earlier, is going to be the big thing. I really do believe. Who can pull it out for 2020? And what are they going to come to market with? Is it going to be more of the same? Or is it going to be something really special, extra special? Maybe it's that, like I said, an A9 Mark II that does 8K, and even though it's 8K at only 24 frames per second and it's just a massive crop on it, if Sony can just stick that 8K logo on the back of the camera, would be just crazy for them, really good market strategy if they were able to pull that off. But, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, again, I think you hit it. It's marketing strategy. To be able to say that they've got this awesome, great new feature in their cameras is fantastic. I mean, something that we need to remember, though. I mean, Canon specifically, they've been in this business a long time, and they are the number one player, whether everybody agrees with that or not. And the products they release are what they are by design, not by accident, not
Right.
because they were rushed. They had plenty of time to figure out that EOS R. And it's not like the technology for that camera didn't exist in other manufacturers. Everybody knows what every other company is doing. Maybe not the latest and greatest, but they know what's on the market. They know the technology that's in it. So they released that camera, and it is, the capabilities of it is by design. They wanted that level of a camera to be out there now. Maybe, with the idea that within the next year, or just prior to the 2020 Olympics, they're going to release a behemoth of a full frame mirrorless.
Right, a pro model, let's call it.
Yeah, a pro model that will just blow everybody away, and we'll be like, holy crap, here we go. And now we've got something that's going to be just great. So, yeah, I mean, I know the small companies that pop on the scene with different products, I mean, you could say that maybe they rushed something to market, or maybe their innovation wasn't quite what it needed to be, and that's because of their R&D budgets. That's because of the support system behind them. But the big guys, they got what they need to do it right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just like you said, I mean, they're doing it, and they're doing it purposely, and they are not kind of just haphazardly doing stuff. They're doing stuff that they need to do, like we said, with Nikon and Canon, to stop the bleeding, to stop that migration that was happening, that was just moving people to Sony. They had to come out with a mirrorless full frame if they wanted to or not, and they did. And are they half-baked? Kinda. Not really, but kinda. Can they be better? Yes. I would not purchase a Gen 1, my personal opinion, just because I am a professional and I have to have gear that is 100%. So I like Gen 2 stuff. Most of the time, just like we said with the 5D, 5D Mark I was awesome, okay? 5D Mark II was stellar. 5D Mark III and 5D Mark IV are iterations thereof. Okay, so I think the same thing is going to happen here. We're going to see a Gen 2 of like the EOS R. We're going to see Gen 2s, let's say, of the Z6 and the Z7. That will be much better. How much better? I think it'd be considerably better. So, if I didn't just have to go into the mirrorless space as of right now on the Canon or Nikon side, I probably wouldn't. Just wait to that Gen 2 and see where people are going to go with it. That's my personal opinion. You know, it's a very hard thing to figure out. But I tell you what, Trev, we're just over an hour. I don't want this to go on for absolutely ever. We can sit and discuss, you know, for literally forever.
Yeah, we
If people
could.
like our conversation, you know, maybe we'll do this more often, do some live stuff, and be able to talk to people and chat people live at the same time. And I'm not going to edit this at all. I'm just going to put it, you know, right on. And hopefully, if they like it, get some thumbs ups. Then, you know, if you're able to do it, then you know we'll have you on. I know a lot of people have liked what you've been saying, so you know that's fantastic. Before we go, though, I want you to you know tell us where to find you and what you're doing and everything else, so that they can find your website and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. So for those that may not be familiar with my background, you could check out currentphotographer.com. That was the photography site that I had created back in 2009. We kind of have been modifying what it is over the years, and it's kind of evolved into more of a service that we provide WordPress powered websites and hosting for photographers. This is the alternative is to Squarespace or Wix or something like that. WordPress is an amazing platform. So that is the photography centric side. My company, Current Media Group, the parent company, we work for all kinds of clients and build, corporate level websites for them and provide hosting and support as well.
Nice, nice, nice. So yeah, definitely head over to the website and check out everything that Trevor does. And like I said, hopefully we can have him on again, so we can just have this kind of chat back and forth, this discussion, because I think it's fun. I really do. I always like being able to do like a live thing and be able to directly talk with you guys. And you have like just amazing. And like I said, in the comment area, just my God, if you haven't read the comments for this last video, the video title is Nikon and Sony Turn Up the Heat. Will Canon be left out in the cold? Check out that video. Go back. I think it's one video behind this one, most likely, whenever this goes live. But check that out and read through the comments. There's such just man, just amazing, amazing thoughts and some really good ideas on where all the companies are going, where they've been, and maybe where they should be going, in the future, what they can do better. And I think that's what this discussion is really about. Either pros or pro-ams or even amateurs that watch the channel, hopefully they can get something out of it from, what we're talking about, but even more about those comments, because a lot of people in there are they're talking real world. It's not just pie in the sky, whereas a lot of times you'll find channels where there's a lot of trolls and they're just talking just nonsense and garbage all through it. If you look through these comments, I literally have to delete none. And if I have to literally remove one person a video, it would be massive. Sometimes there is no one for video after video after video. So once again, like I said, I'm absolutely blessed. As far as for my products, of course, I am the inventor of the Focus Pyramid autofocus lens calibration tool, as you can see here on the screen right now. Of course, also the PRT, which is the photo reference tool. If you haven't checked that out, please do so. And just recently, I came to market with the ACC, which is the Aurora Camera Care. It is a lens and sensor cleaning kit that just really does an amazing job. I'm just so pleased with it. I've been getting such great just feedback on it. If you guys haven't tried it as of yet, definitely check it out. It's Aurora Camera Care. Check it out over at JCristina.com. If your sensor is dirty, it doesn't really matter what your camera is doing. You're going to end up with a mess, and then later on, you're having to clean off spots and whatnot in post-production. You really don't want to do that. Like I always say, time is money, right, guys? Time is money. So that's it. I'm out of here for yet another vlog. Thanks so much, Trevor, for being here. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate every one of you. As always, please smash that subscribe button, like I always say, and subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon here so that you can be notified. So when these come out, you'll be notified of it immediately. And once again, head over to my website, JCristina.com. That's it, guys. Thanks so much for everyone in the chat. We will see you on the next one. Take care.